The slap echoed through the palace courtyard, freezing the air like a winter chill. Gasps rippled through the crowd as all eyes turned to the immovable figure standing tall in his ceremonial uniform. The woman, her perfectly manicured fingers still trembling, smirked in triumph until she saw his eyes. What happened next was a lesson in discipline, honor, and the quiet strength that no amount of money could buy. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love stories about courage and unexpected justice, be sure to like this video and subscribe. We bring you thrilling real-life stories every day at this time. It was a crisp afternoon at Buckingham Palace, and tourists gathered near the gates, snapping photos of the famous royal guards standing motionless, embodying centuries of military tradition. Among the crowd was Eleanor Sterling, a wealthy socialite known for her extravagant lifestyle and entitlement. Her designer heels clicked sharply against the pavement as she strutted toward the palace entrance, her assistant struggling to keep up behind her. "What do you mean the private tour is over?" she snapped at a palace staff member, who remained composed despite her condescending tone. "I booked this trip months ago. Do you even know who I am?" "Madam," the staff member replied with measured patience, "private tours conclude at 4 p.m. We have strict security policies." "Oh, spare me the protocol speech," Eleanor cut him off, rolling her eyes. "This is why this country is falling behind. Too many rules, not enough people willing to bend them for someone important." She flipped her golden hair over her shoulder, letting her diamond earrings catch the sunlight. The nearby tourists exchanged uneasy glances, some whispering among themselves about her arrogance. A few discreetly lifted their phones to record what was quickly becoming a spectacle. Eleanor's eyes locked onto a royal guard stationed nearby, his tall frame standing firm beneath the iconic bearskin hat. A slow smirk spread across her lips. "Fine," she huffed. "If you won't help me, maybe he will." The clicking of her heels punctuated the tense silence as she marched toward the royal guard, her assistant now hesitating a few steps behind. "You there?" she called out, stepping uncomfortably close. The guard did not flinch, his eyes fixed forward with the discipline of a seasoned soldier. Eleanor tilted her head, amusement dancing in her sharp blue eyes. "Oh, I see how it is. You think you're above speaking to people like me?" She reached out, waving her manicured fingers inches from his stoic face. "Come on, say something. Surely the Queen won't mind if you make an exception for someone of my stature." The crowd grew uneasy, sensing the tension thickening in the air. A middle-aged man murmured to his wife, "She's going too far." Nearby, a child tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Mommy, why is she being mean to the soldier?" Eleanor ignored the murmurs, her frustration mounting. "You know, I've met actual important military men. They wouldn't stand here like some oversized garden statue." She scoffed. "This is all just an act, isn't it? A show for the tourists?" A flicker of movement in the crowd caught her eye. An older gentleman wearing a veteran's pin, watching with quiet intensity. His hands were clenched at his sides, his jaw tight with disapproval. But Eleanor was too consumed by her own arrogance to notice. She leaned in closer, her breath heavy with expensive perfume. "You're nothing more than an ornament," she whispered mockingly, "and I don't respect ornaments." Then, with a swift motion, she raised her hand and slapped him across the face. The world seemed to stop. The sharp sound of the impact echoed against the stone walls of the palace, and a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Several tourists froze in shock, a woman's hand flew to her mouth, and a man muttered under his breath, "Oh, she's done for." The royal guard did not move. His face remained impassive, the only visible change being a faint red mark blooming on his cheek. Eleanor crossed her arms smugly. "There," she sneered. Maybe now you'll learn some manners." And then, the moment everything changed. With deliberate precision, the guard turned his head to look at her directly. His piercing gaze locked onto hers, and in that moment, the crowd knew. She had crossed a line she could never uncross. His voice, deep and commanding, cut through the heavy silence. "You have dishonored yourself, madam." Eleanor's smirk faltered. The guard continued, his tone unwavering. "I have stood my post through war zones. I have defended my country against real threats. And yet today, I face something truly disgraceful. Not an enemy, not a battle, but a woman who believes wealth entitles her to disrespect." The veteran stepped forward, his eyes cold. "That uniform represents more than you could ever comprehend." Eleanor's face paled. The weight of the moment settled on her shoulders as the murmurs of disapproval swelled. The police officers stationed at the edge of the courtyard had already begun making their way through the crowd. One of them, a stern-looking female officer, approached. "Madame, you'll need to come with us." Eleanor let out a breathless laugh, eyes darting around as if searching for support. But the crowd had turned against her. She stammered, it was just a..." The officer didn't flinch. "Assaulting a member of the Royal Guard is a criminal offense." As Eleanor was escorted away, her designer handbag slipping from her shoulder, the crowd erupted, not in sympathy, but in applause. The veteran approached the guard, his expression softening. "They don't make them like you anymore," he said, offering a firm nod of respect. The guard gave a single, precise nod before returning to his post, his discipline unwavering, his honor intact. The red mark on his cheek would fade within hours, but the lesson Eleanor had just learned would last a lifetime. How far should respect for tradition and discipline go? Eleanor learned the hard way today that true strength isn't in money or power, it's in dignity and restraint. What do you think? Could you have kept your composure in the face of such blatant disrespect? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you love stories of honor and courage, like this video and subscribe for more incredible tales.